Thumbs up. Perfect. Okay, good morning, everyone. The time is currently 9 a.m. and it is May 27th, and we are here for our regularly scheduled BOCC meeting, and I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. First up on the agenda, we do have our invocation by Rabbi Barry Schmeckler. Welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we stand before you in prayer. Look favorably upon all the honorable members of the County Commission of our great county of Doña. We beseech you, Almighty and merciful God, to extend your grace to each and every member of this august body and bestow upon them the joy of life, good health, and prosperity. Grant these public servants wisdom and understanding in their noble pursuit of justice and equality. The Jewish tradition tells of 7 universal laws given to mankind by God through Noah, one of which instructs us to create a peaceful and moral society governed by law. Almighty God, grant that those assembled here be aware of your presence and this holy mission as they labor to enact just laws with honesty and integrity. May they have the wisdom to turn adversity into opportunity and to transform the hard challenges we face today into the seeds from which will sprout the growth of tomorrow. May our county serve as a beacon of light for people of all faiths and walks of life. May Doña help achieve the goals so powerfully stated in the Pledge of Our Allegiance, so that America is truly one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As yesterday was Memorial Day, I would like to end with a prayer for the valiant men and women who gave their lives in defense of our country, for freedom from terror, and the right for everyone to live in peace. God on high, grant reassuring peace to them. May they find eternal shelter beneath your sheltering wings. May they rest with honor, and may their actions hasten the day when righteousness, peace, and security shall prevail forever. As the prophet Isaiah foretold the day when nations shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they study war anymore. And let us say, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. If you are able to stand, if you'll please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Brandy, if you will roll call the commission for determination of quorum, please.
Commissioner Gameros? Here. Commissioner Reynolds? Commissioner Sanchez?
Present.
Vice Chair Chaparro? Chair Shaljo Hernandez?
Present. And we have quorum this morning. So the commission convenes as the Board of County Commissioners and the County Board of Finance in open session. County Manager Andrews, are there any changes to the agenda this morning?
Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone. No changes to the agenda today, sir.
Wonderful. Next up, we do have our consent agenda, where the board will be asked to approve by one motion the following items for routine business, and we have items number 1 through 13. Do we have a motion, commissioners?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Sanchez and a second by Commissioner Gameros. Commissioners, any comments, questions? Seeing none. Brandy.
Commissioner Gameros?
Yes.
Commissioner, Sanchez?
Yes.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez?
Yes. Motion carries. Consent agenda items are approved. Brandy, if you'll give us those resolution numbers.
Item number 3, 2025-58. Item number 5, 2025-59. And item number 10, 2025-60.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Is that a record? It's 9:04. I think that's a record. Moving on, we do have public input. If any members of the public would like to address the commission, if they will please start forming a line down the center. There's a white binder to your left. If you will please sign in after you address public comment. And if you can please state your name before you address us. We have 3 minutes on the board, and we will begin.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So when I was in the military, people would ask me, how can you be a Christian and a soldier? And I would say, I don't know. So when I read the Bible, I was obviously looking for answers to that. And here's one of them from the book of Luke, chapter 22, verse 35 and 36. Then Jesus asked them, when I sent you out to preach the good news, and you did not have money, a traveler's bag, an extra pair of sandals, did you need anything? No, they replied. But now he said, take money, a traveler's bag, and if you don't have a sword, the Second Amendment came from Jesus. If you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. In today's English, that would be sell something and buy an assault rifle, because a sword then is what assault rifle is to a soldier today. As for last meeting, we were told that a minimum distance of 5 miles from Highway 9 to the border. I was a Border Patrol agent at Santa Teresa, so I will wager a $10,000 bet to our sheriff that she can't show me one place in Doña County where Highway 9 is 5 miles from the border. She said she went to BLM. Being that she's in law enforcement, she should have gone to the other law enforcement agency, which is the Border Patrol, and asked them the question. So I did that. We still have public access to that land. There are signs on the fence, and there's another row of signs 60 feet north of that. The military people that are down there are with sidearms, 9mm sidearms, and they're in striker vehicles that have no weapons on them. They only have optics so that they can see at night. In the time that I was a Border Patrol agent down there, I never saw anybody go to the border for a picnic, not once. Usually the people that show up on the border are somebody from out of state, and they're down there going, where's the border? And you point right there. And they go, that barbed wire fence is it? And I'd say yes, and they were just amazed that that's all that was there. That was a long time ago. Now we actually have a fence, but back then we didn't. So we still have public access to the land. Our president was voted to secure the border. He's doing his job. Thank you.
I'm not going to read all that I wrote for you because it'll take too much time, but I do have just a little bit that I want to read. Sometime back, I came to this building because I had two problems. Two people directed me to talk to Julie Brown. One of the two people spoke when somebody spoke to her about when somebody attempted to shoot me. She was not happy. I had another agenda that I needed to address, and that was the unfair taxes that I was charged. My property taxes, this is the reason I'm here. My property taxes for the longest time had been around $1,000. Then one year it jumped to $1,200. The following year it jumped to $1,400. The following year it jumped to $1,600. I began to, I spoke to them, and my taxes are very, very unfair. And this is something that is correctable. I want my taxes back, the unfair taxes that I was charged, plus interest. The other item that I wanted to talk to, I'm not going to address it fully because I made some copies of the paper. One of them was I had two of your guards that tried to assault me by the elevator. And if you read the last item, you'll see why I think that the former sheriff had something to do with the attempted shooting of me on my own driveway. I also wrote a letter to the New Mexico Office of Superintendents of Insurance. And if you read this, I made 14 copies. If you read this, you can clearly see how I think the former Mayor Miyagishima had something to do with it. I haven't heard anything back from them, but that's about all I got to say. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, the speaker didn't.
Oh, sir, if you can state your name for us, please. Sir?
Yes,
Your name, sir?
I wrote it down there.
If you can say it on the mic, please.
Oh, you have to walk all the way back?
Go ahead and say it and I'll state it for you.
Enrique Moreno.
Enrique Moreno. Thank you, sir.
County Commissioners, Mr. Andrews. My name is Ida Garcia, and I am a retired librarian speaking on behalf of Chaparral Library at the Dolores Wright Center. I am here today with community members who share a deep commitment to this cause. We are requesting your approval to accept a donation of bookshelves valued at $2,160 from a nonprofit organization. These shelves are essential to house our growing collection. At present, we have over 100 boxes of books with no space to shelve them. I have sent photos to illustrate the situation. Unfortunately, the county did not allocate a budget for the library or assign a staff member to manage it. In response, a dedicated group of volunteers, including myself, has stepped up to operate the library for the benefit of the community. Despite the feedback suggesting that additional shelving is not needed, our experience on the ground tells us a different story. We have already thoroughly weeded the collection, yet we lack adequate shelving for adult fiction, nonfiction, and reference materials. In April 2025, Ms. Jamie Michael informed us via email that shelving would not be reconsidered once the would only be reconsidered once the library is fully operation, and instead suggested donations for computers. However, the county informed us back in September of 2024 that computers had already been purchased. To date, we only have received one desktop computer for our circulation desk, and we have six computer cubicles that remain empty. We are doing everything we can to move forward, but every effort is met with delays and miscommunications. County departments appear to be operating in silos. After 2 years of continuous effort, our doors remain closed, not because of lack of dedication, but because of persistent roadblocks. This donation would come at no cost to the county. It addresses an immediate and unmet need that would bring us one step closer to opening a long-awaited community resource. There are two people that have been very supportive, and I want to thank Pamela Woods and Mr. Jonathan Macias for the continued efforts and support. And now I respectfully ask each of you to please approve this donation, help us to cut through the delays, and finally open the doors of the Chaparral Library to the community it was built to serve. Thank you.
Fantastic timing.
My name is Jessica Nevares. I'm here to support the attempt to open up the library in Chaparral, New Mexico. I've been a resident of Chaparral, New Mexico for 20 years, and I've always hoped that Chaparral would grow into a healthy community where families have a place to congregate and where children can explore and develop their sense of curiosity. Unfortunately, Chaparral has been denied the opportunity for places like that, such as the library, for 10 years of us trying to voice our needs. I'm beginning a career in writing and illustrating children's books because education, strong values, as well as art and imagination are important things to me that I wish to advocate in any way that I can. Today, I'm grateful because I have the chance to directly speak to the people who can help us. There's many moms, dads, and children who can't voice their concerns and needs here today due to language barriers. Chaparral is a Spanish community that needs a library to practice language arts and have access to English books so that their children learn to read and write and break these language barriers. I'm also here for my personal needs to be heard. I grew up here in Chaparral, having to ask my mom to drive to El Paso or Las Cruces to check out books. We didn't always have money for gas as they worked overtime to be able to sustain our family. Every time my parents were able to drive me 20 miles or more so I can have books was a luxury. I want my children to have an even greater luxury and have a library down the road where they'll see their friends and have no limitations to access of a public library like I did. Like all parents, I hope for all the children to have a safe educational library and all of its resources here in Chaparral, New Mexico. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Santiago Gonzalez. I'm a resident of Chaparral, a growing community, and you already know the needs we face. I felt the lack of place where we can research, read, or even just make a copy. A library is not just about books. It brings access to workshops, activities for children, youth, and seniors. We need a safe space to learn, grow, and dream big. I ask that you support us and stop delaying this project any longer. If there's any way our youth group can support this project to move forward, we are willing to support this project. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Cristina Maloney. I'm a retired librarian too. When they asked me if I wanted to be a volunteer, I love it. I was like, yes, I want to get in there. So they invited me there and I saw a huge room full of boxes of books. And then I saw how many shelves and I was like, that's impossible. Cannot be that. So I'm here in behalf of that as a that I would like, if possible, that we have all these things that we need to get rid of it. Also, I'm a librarian. I'm going to do helping with cataloging. So we need all these systems to do that, be able to catalog, professionally, so the kids can be able to find whatever they need as a real professional library. And for that, we might need not only shelves, but a good system for cataloging, and we need printer so we can print library cards, prints out call numbers, all the things that becomes with a real library. So I'm here to support the cause. I was really happy, yes, let's do it. The community need it, and it will be so cool to go again in there. I love to be a librarian. So when they told me that, I was like, just go for it. So we need that. So I'm here to support the cause, and if you can really help us to do it. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Good morning. My name's Jim Hurst. The Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom was written by Thomas Jefferson in 1785, while the United States was under the Articles of Confederation. This is the first law in the modern Western world to guarantee religious liberty and restrict government from favoring any religious opinion or sect. Due to Jefferson's generosity with words, I've made some edits. Provision 1, whereas Almighty God has created the mind free, that all attempts to influence it by temporal punishment or burdens by civil incapacitations tend only to beget habits of hypocrisy and meanness, and are a departure from the plan of the holy author of our religion. Article 2, be it enacted by the General Assembly that no man shall be compelled to frequent or support any religious worship place, or ministry whatsoever, nor shall be enforced, restrained, molested, or burdened in his body or goods, nor shall otherwise suffer on account of his religious opinions or belief, but that all men shall be free to profess and by argument to maintain their opinion in matters of religion, and that the same shall in no wise diminish, enlarge, or affect their civil capacities. Article 3, we do declare that the rights hereby asserted are the natural rights of mankind, and that if any act shall hereafter pass to repeal the present or narrow its operation, such as would be an infringement on a natural right. End quote. Jefferson asserts in this law that religious rights are natural rights, the same as status that he gives to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I ask you, do the county's practices conform to Jefferson's ideas on separation of church and state? I say they absolutely do not. I ask you, commissioners, does your vision of the natural rights of humanity exceed that of Jefferson's? If your opinion of separation of church and state differs from his, what argument do you assert against Jefferson? Thank you very much.
Diane Starbuck for the record. I was very pleased on Friday when I saw the news conference about the CRUA situation. I'm so glad the county is stepping up and doing something about the water for the people in Sunland Park and Santa Teresa. It's kind of been a long time in coming, but I hope the county can move on this quickly, and thank you for that.
Good morning, Commissioners. Michael Simmons. From last time, I want to continue a little bit on identity. What are we supposed to do? What are we here for? We have many saying that we should remove God from our government. If we track back through what the order of things are, it's a county. You look at the state, you look at our state constitution, it says that we are formed under the auspices of God. We go to the federal level, we are formed under the auspices of God. We go through the Bible, we are formed under the auspices of God. God is government. We also come to identity as what is the purpose of the county commission? What is the purpose of government? What is the purpose to which we're working all these things toward? During the county commission inputs, during the sheriff's notes, it was noted that the federal government has been taking over a lot of the 60 whatever corridor along the border zone. There is more outrage over what happens to illegals that violate the law, trespass across our borders, and the result of kind of the swing back at a federal level trying to enforce those laws than there is over the issues of what illegal immigration does to our own people. It suppresses our wages, it increases our costs, it keeps the poor continuously poor because you're forced to compete with illegals. And then we complain, oh, they can't go to the police because they're afraid of deportation, they're afraid of this. And it puts them in a constant slavery state almost at a legal level. And that is not good for them, it's not good for us, it's not good for these others. So we see this in some other cases where why did CRUA get as bad as it is? Why are we taking care of foreigners or other things when we have our own issues going on? We don't wish them to be poor, we don't wish any hateful thing on them, but we also have a identity, a purpose of why government's been formed to take care of our own citizens. And that seems to get pushed aside in the face of trying to be kind, trying to be nice. When you look at the history of governments are for protection of the people. They start from clans, they start from self-protection areas. They start from these things which are not nice on the exterior, but they are there to protect their own people. And so, yeah, that pretty much is where I wanted to leave it. That is, what is our identity? Why are we a government? Why do we form ourselves for these purposes? And I thank you for your time this day. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Raimundo Aldaz, resident of Chaparral for about 24 years. Several months ago, a friend of mine from Chaparral approached people from Facilities and Parks about posting a sign on the door at the Betty McKnight Resource Center, a sign that says no weapons allowed in the building. His purpose was because there's a gentleman who comes into the senior meals program brandishing a weapon. And I say brandishing because I'll explain. And he probably has a permit for an open carry, but the seniors program is no place for a weapon for no reason at all. No place. And he does brandish a weapon once in a while to show it off. He also, as we have seen in the movies, he has a coat he carries. He opens it up full of knives. There's no reason for that. And the person from Facilities and Parks told my friend that because New Mexico has an open carry issue that, that nothing could be done about it. I don't believe that, and I will not, and we will not accept that. There should be a sign on all, besides it is a government building. There should be a sign, especially there, that no weapons should be allowed to be brought in to the building for no reason. And we hope that by putting a sign there would end the problem, and maybe the gentleman will take notice of it. If not, further action has to be taken, because that is not acceptable to us. And like I said, no reason to be carrying weapons where senior citizens meet to have lunch. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Dr. David Garcia, and at one time I used to sit right at the bench that you're in. And I want to thank all of you for the work that you do, because I've done it before. When I was county commissioner, some people of the public says, Dr. Garcia or Dr. G, we love when you convey a message because you use analogies or you talk about stories. And I really have liked the improvements. I sat over there and I sat in the center and I see those big screens and that clock ticking away, kind of get you kind of nervous. But let me tell you a story that being a superintendent of schools, and Terry Miller, in fact, she's the Democratic chair for the ward, told me, Dr. Garcia, the administration is the head of the organization. And I agreed with that. I said, yes. And she said, and the library is the heart of the school. And the libraries in our county are the heart of our communities. There's where people learn. And I applaud these people, the young ones especially, that are here today to say, help us. There's one thing I like to say as county commissioner, and I realize that sometimes we make things very cumbersome. The word cumbersome means that, we have policies and rules and regulations, and sometimes that makes the organization stop or clog, and we don't need that. We need something to open up. Look, we've been working for that library 13 years. It reminds me of that cartoon where you have a horse and you have a carrot in front, and the horse is walking to get the carrot, and then he can't get the carrot. We haven't been able to get that carrot for 13 years. I sat for the first time, now that we have the books, and read a book in one of the tables, and it felt so wonderful, and I felt at home. So libraries are necessary, so please, let's not make it cumbersome. Let's help out and make that a reality for these young folks so that they can sit there in that library and enjoy it. It's been a long time. Let's see if you can help us in getting that library. And it's like having a pecan cake and you want to eat it, but you can't get to it. And that's the way some of our people feel in Chaparral. And I know you're going to do it. And before my time expires, I'd like to invite our county manager to our meetings and so that people can get to know you and meet you and say, well, there's our county manager. We know who he is. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other public comment this morning? Seeing none, we'll move on to commission input. If any member of the commission would like to address anything? No? Oh, yep, Vice Chair.
Mr. Chair, primeramente le quería dar las gracias a los jóvenes de Chaparral porque mi primer idioma fue el español y la manera en cual yo aprendí a leer fue en la biblioteca de Bradley Elementary School, la escuela de barrio, la escuela donde no tenían esperanza para nosotros, donde la mayoría de nosotros éramos de habla español, pero con mucho esfuerzo y mucho gusto tenía maestras quienes creyeron en mí y me daban siempre la bienvenida a esa biblioteca de Bradley Elementary School. I don't know if you remember Bradley Elementary School. It's on the corner of, Tornillo and Loman, so many, many years ago. And that's where I first learned to read, in that library, surrounded by books. And to the young people that spoke, I remember delving into the books and having a dictionary right next to it because I didn't understand a lot of the words. But I remember the librarians and the way the books smelled when I walked in and the different stories and just the companionship of my friends sitting around. And I don't know if y'all remember this, Dr. Garcia, you remember this, the little round tables with the little chairs and a little basket of Crayolas and bookmarkers, and we were able to choose. Back then, I think we had maybe 1,500 books to select from, but it instilled in me, along with my parents, the joy of reading, disfrutar, leer, y especialmente en esa escuela fue bilingüe. Entonces fue un gran esfuerzo para mí, pero he logrado a conocer dos idiomas. So to the librarians, thank you very much. To the young people that came up and spoke today, thank you very much. I know how meaningful it is to you. So thank you. So I have a couple of points, Mr. Chair. Second point, I'm a member, or I'm the committee for Metro Narcotics, and that includes several law enforcement agencies here in the county. And during our last meeting last month, I was made aware that Sheriff Stewart is wanting to withdraw from the Metro Narcotics Agency. And I hope that this commission takes that into account, and I'd like to speak to it in a work session. As some of you know, I'm also a court interpreter, and so I sit in court on almost a daily basis, and I also sit in grand jury, and I can't really talk about that because it's a secretive kind of judicial process. But I can tell you in court, I see probably 70% of the cases are drug cases. And it's heroin, and it's cocaine, and it's methamphetamine, and it's fentanyl. And last week, I had a murder trial, which was horrific. And it was because of the drugs. And if we as a community do not use everything in our power to stop the sale of drugs, which are quite cheap, by the way, and most people can get their hands on them, then it's going to continue to grow, and it's going to continue to be a bigger problem. And we need to use all our law enforcement efforts to help the other agencies stop the sale and the consumption, because we're losing young people to these drugs, and we're losing a lot of community members to this drug. So we need to stand together, link arms with Metro Narcotics law enforcement and all that entails, all the resources that are utilized, and move forward so that we can save lives in this community. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other commissioner input?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner.
I wanted to respond on a couple of items that was brought up here during public input regarding the BLM land that was turned over to the Department of Defense. And I think there was two members of the public that had mentioned it. And I think it's, while they bring up that, you know, what they believe is enforcement areas of the border, it's been made clear to the public that, and this is the intent of the administration, that by making the public lands from BLM to the Department of Defense, any of those areas that have been ceded to the Department of Defense creates an opportunity for anybody to be arrested for trespass upon military property. Now, we've seen recently in the courts here in New Mexico that these charges that were brought forward were ended up being dropped, or at least were not, they were ended up being acquitted of because of the fact that they could not prove that there was enough signage that they knew that people were entering these areas. And so that's part of the challenge of this. But, you know, we'll go back to some of the concerns that were brought up with talking about Border Patrol. And they're trying to secure the border. And I simply ask this of our public. If any government entity is not able to fulfill their duties because they're not fulfilling or filling those those positions, is that fair? It's not like here in the county, if we have issues with crime, we take someone from parks, from our facilities department or any other department in the county and have them enforce our laws. We just don't. Why? Because you have law enforcement agencies that have their specific duties. And in this case, it was brought up Border Patrol. That is their duty to enforce immigration laws. There's a reason why our military is not supposed to be enforcing domestic law. And like I said the last time, this is all part of normalization of having military and other means come into our communities. And we get used to this. And that's just not acceptable. And the reason I bring it up is because if you look at the hiring and the number of positions with Border Patrol, they're huge. And this has not been an issue recent by the current administration or the Biden. This has been a longstanding issue where the government has not been able to, because of requirements for Border Patrol agents, have not been able to fill those positions. But it doesn't mean you go and get the military to start enforcing it, the laws. It doesn't mean you start getting domestic or local law enforcement to enforce those laws for you. And so we continue to see these shows of force by our federal government, by our neighbors next door in Texas, who love to ended up putting barbed wire last year, the year before, along the Rio Grande. Not along the federal border, but the state border with New Mexico, to prevent people from crossing over into Texas, when they could just very easily walk a few hundred meters up and just walk over the highway. But this is what's happening, and this is what's normalizing, is that we're allowing our government, federal government and state governments are starting to come in and put these enforcements to be tough guys. They're not doing anything. They really aren't helping anything, but the only thing they're doing is normalizing this type of rhetoric, this type of action, and I don't believe that this is something we should stand for. And this is why I get frustrated and upset when we live in a border community where we don't respect our neighbors, we don't respect our brothers and sisters, and trying to figure out how we do this the proper way, how we help each other. But instead, we want to shun each other and tell each other how we're doing things the wrong way. So just wanted to put that out there. I know I do have some updates for boards, but I'll wait until we get to that.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner, now everyone's going. Yes, Commissioner Gomeros.
Thank you. I just want to first thank for the people of Chaparral for coming up and speaking. You know, I hear and I appreciate your voices. I too, when I was younger, I lived in Chamberino, so we didn't have a library over there. And when my mom would come to the grocery store over here to Las Cruces, we'd come to the library. She'd go shopping and I'd go into a library and look for books and get books as well. So I love reading. I've always loved reading. It's a wonderful way to, I guess, get out of the real life, right? And, you know, also it helps you to see the world in books. That's what I loved about the books, that you got to see the world. So I thank you for that, for coming and letting us know of the issues that are happening there at the library, and I hope we can fix it for you. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, one last thing. Dr. Chavez, I just had sent a text, and I believe I might have someone that can donate a printer. If you'll let me know what you need, hopefully not very expensive, but something reasonable for your library. So do you have my number? I'll come down and give it to you.
If you can come up to the podium for us, please. Thank you.
I think one of the main things that's happening is we've had a lot of people want to give us donations, but for some reason the county has not accepted them. I had a group that wanted to give us 5 computers a couple of years ago when we first started the library, and they would not allow me to bring them in. They said that because they were not purchased by the county. So I don't know the rules, and this is something that we need to. I have another group right now that is willing to buy us supplies that we need, but I'm afraid because I have not gotten approval. So this is one thing that I need to find out why there's a problem with donations to our library.
Thank you. And if I may ask our legal department, would it be permissible for an individual to donate a printer or supplies?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. And maybe if during staff input, if we can get an update on what's going on with the Chaparral Library today. So whoever's in charge, if they can address us. Because this isn't the first time that we've had conversations about donations to the county, and we do have a new county administrator, this is a new county commission, so hopefully we can all get on the same page. Because I don't know why we wouldn't want to accept donations from the public, nonprofits and such, especially if it's going to help our community. So that's where I am, but this is a new county administration, this is a new county commission, so those things are changing. So hopefully we can get on the same page to help you all out and help our other communities that have been in this same situation. So we'll definitely be moving forward together. Any other commission input? You're next, Madam Assessor. Okay, moving on to county elected officials input. Madam Assessor? Oh, Madam Clerk. Have something on the mind, I'm sorry.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commission. Amanda Lopez-Askin, Doña County Clerk. I wanted to offer my kudos and really gratitude to facilities, specifically Robert Herrera and Justin Weaver, for the just absolute stellar work they have done on our new build of a warehouse that's adjacent to this building. I think it's a great example of when government works, when you get focused and you follow through again, and you do it again and again. And what we have next door is a perfect example of when that happens, it does work. So gratitude to the commission for their huge support in encouraging words as well as financial connected to the warehouse. We did secure well over $3 million for the warehouse from the legislature and capital outlay, but you all shored up the rest. We could not have done it without you. So I wanted to give you all a thanks as well as recognize facilities and the crews, et cetera. It's getting hot, and so laying gravel and all the things that they're doing is very much appreciated, and we hope for a ribbon cutting or whatever the equivalent of that is in August. So that's what we're shooting for. I also would like to say something, two things. On a personal note, I was born and raised here in Las Cruces and grew up in what would be the equivalent of public housing. And I will say to you, less than 2% of PhDs are held by Latinas. I'm proud to hold one for New Mexico State, but the reason that I was able to navigate is my love of reading and my love of libraries. I spent, when my brothers were playing soccer and my parents were coaching, I was dropped off at Brannigan and sometimes spent all day there. The smell of the library is still something that reminds me of my childhood, and to say that I did not pass hours and hours and hours discovering different places and things and people through the books that I read changed me fundamentally, and I would encourage that we do anything we can do to support our communities, especially those that are often forgotten, connected to those young people who should have that opportunity as well. So I'll leave that. I also, on another personal note, would like to, historically, you all know that whenever there's been misinformation, specifically language that is unacceptable, initially when I was a clerk, I let it go because I didn't think it was helpful. But in this instance, I would say that I am going to push back on the word illegal. And I would say that I have a fundamental belief that we should never refer to any human as illegal. And so I want that to be made very, very clear. I think when we talk about faith and Christian values and those types of things, I think it's important to remember the humanity in all of us and where we all come from, literally and figuratively. So I will leave that there. And thank you for listening.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Welcome, Madam Treasurer.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. How are you this morning? I'm actually here to introduce a staff member. So I'm lucky enough to be fully staffed at this point. And management was very helpful last year. We saw a need in our office where we needed help in the back, so we got an accounting manager. Mira has been with the organization for over 18 years. She comes with a lot of accounting experience, and she's helping us reach our goals in our office. And I'm very excited because I think staff is what makes an organization great. So I wanted to introduce her. I know she's just as nervous as me, but it's important to know that she's recognized, and I appreciate everything our staff does.
And I'm very excited to work with the Treasurer's Office after I was in finance for 18 and a half years, and I'm very excited for this new position.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Any other elected official input today? Okay, staff input.
Hey, sir, I have a couple staff members that come up and speak here, but I'm going to kick us off.
So while we have the members here from Chaparral, if that's the first one we can do so that they can
Absolutely.
leave if they need to leave after we get this done.
I could already see the team clamoring there, and I went and gave my personal cell number to Ms. Garcia. So I see Jamie coming up to the mic.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jamie Michael, County's Health and Human Services Director. I will start off with the library, and then I'll come back up later for summer, or I'll do summer lunches too. All right, I will start with the library. So try to keep this brief, but I think this is sort of inherent to an issue that everyone is aware of, and there's already a process in place to help prevent this in the future, thanks to Jonathan and some of the other county leadership. The library was built with state funding. It was never part of the county's strategic plan or the county's intentions to have a library there. It was just done through that state appropriation outside of county government. So it is true, we do not have employees or resources dedicated to operate a library. So we are doing the best we can with the resources that we have. With that said, libraries, especially modern libraries, are really important to communities for a variety of reasons. Obviously, checking out books is important, but there is so much more that libraries do for communities. And we've had 2 visioning sessions or 2 opportunities for the public there to give us feedback on what they want to see in their community library. And so we are working on not just books, but we're working on providing a variety of activities that are library or literacy related to the community in Chaparral. We had an open house where we were able to purchase children's books and give out children's books. We have some children's reading and literacy activities happening across all the community centers, not just the Chaparral one, over the summer. The City of Las Cruces public library system is coming out, and they are signing people up to be part of that library system, because you can get books by mail, you can get books electronically. There are a lot of ways to access books and reading material or the broader library services through that, that partnership. We also were able to put together some funding to work with a consultant who used to oversee the city's library system to help create policies and procedures. We were able to purchase the catalog system, Library World, so we can catalog the books. We do have a computer there and a printer for the volunteers to use so they can print out the labels that are part of the catalog system. In order for volunteers to access public resources or county resources like the computer and like this library system, they do need to go through the county's HR process. So they have to submit their application, go through the background check and the orientation, because at that point they will be working as an agent of the county. And so we are in the process of having all of the volunteers that are interested in doing this on behalf of the county go through that application and orientation process. So there is, I know it's taken a long time. Pam, thank you. You've done a lot of work to get this. There is not a dedicated librarian within the county. We are relying on volunteers and working through those processes as we can.
Thank you, Ms. Michael, and thank you, Pam. So, how many individuals from the Chaparral community has gone through the HR process to gain access to these resources?
I believe we just have one existing volunteer that works at the community center that is already gone through the process and is interested in also helping with the library.
Is that individual here today? No, she's not, but we actually have 4. Ma'am, if you want to address us,
there is a list of additional volunteers, and we are working with them to get their applications submitted.
Okay.
I have recruited.
If you can speak into the microphone since it is being live streamed.
I have recruited 4 additional librarians that are retired. And
Amazing.
So we have actually 4 people that have been librarians and are willing to help us with the cataloging.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
we have about, I would say, 10 volunteers right now, and I'm getting more. And the problem is, of course, it's going to take a while because we are going through the process right now. I've lost a couple because it's taken so long, but I'm looking for more volunteers. And I know we can run it, but we need to have some type of authorization or power so that we can make decisions. It's very difficult because, the county is here in Las Cruces. We're in Chaparral. We can't get somebody out there all the time. I know Brannigan is trying to provide services. We're not even there yet. Right now, we have to get books. We have to get cataloging. We're not ready for activities.
Okay.
So
Thank you. So,
we don't have a printer. I don't know what printer Ms.
Okay.
Michael is talking about.
We'll handle that from up here. Thank you so much. So we have one individual that has gone through the HR process. She is not here today. But we have 4 other volunteers that want to go through the process. Can we connect them before they leave today with HR to get this expedited? Because it sounds like they're going to be pretty self-sufficient. I don't understand why this is taking so long. 13 years, was it, Dr. G? 13 years.
We've emailed
13
the
years.
applications out to everyone, but we can print hard copies. if
Let's print them
that's,
out, get them to them, get
easier
them some.
for them.
You rock. Thank you so much.
And we could not do this without Mrs. Garcia. She has been a dynamic volunteer. So
That is
we are
fantastic.
very grateful for their work. Let me touch base on the computer issue real quick. So there is a computer and a printer there for the volunteers that, Mrs. Garcia, it's connected to the printer that's already in the building. We'll make sure it works. IT knows that. We'll make sure that that works. We do not have a printer and a copier for public use because the county doesn't have a policy for how to allow the public to use county resources, and I don't want us to get in a position where we're taking cash from community members. We need to work through how, if the county wants to do that, how it would be done. But there will be a printer for the volunteers to use for their administrative functions. We will also have computers at the library for people to use when they come in. We've had public computers in Chaparral before. We are trying to do a better job than what we did before, because before it was just old computers from the county that were there until they just broke. But we want to do a better job because when we talk to the public, it was either the first or second thing on everyone's list was to have a computer there with internet access to use. We originally purchased laptops. We realized that there's security issues and made it a little difficult to have loaner programs with laptops. So we're replacing those with desktop computers and again, putting together a policy because we have had public computers in the past at other resource centers and they've been misused. So we really have to make sure that our staff understands and that the public understands the kind of parameters around using those computers. But there will be computers for the public to use. The next big order will be July 1, right after the new fiscal year.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Kent has some additional information about county equipment as well.
Go ahead, Commissioner Sanchez.
I'm just wondering, is it at all possible to maybe have some dates or timelines that we're looking at for some of these tasks, so that way we can have updates and understand, you know, if it's to get books, to get equipment, to get some of those, and then that way we kind of know what we're shooting for, and then that way if if we ever get reached out by any members of the public, we can understand, okay, this has been ordered, this has been purchased, just understanding that perspective, because I know it's going to be a multi-phase approach here, or there's going to be many steps in this, and so, but if we can know that we are making progress and we kind of know what we're shooting for, at least we have a line in the sand that we're trying to reach, and then can also communicate that out with the public.
Commissioner Sanchez, yes, I like timelines, but the timelines are always contingent on other people's actions. So once we get the application, then we have to go through a process of a background check, and that's also reliant on the individual giving approval to do the background check. So if everybody responds, gets the application submitted and responds within a 24-hour period for any kind of back and forth communication, I've seen HR work through that process within the matter of 2 or 3 weeks. To have the orientation and everything completed. They've been pretty good about letting our staff do some of the orientation with the employees, and we have that material already ready. But they do have to go through the formal background check, and that can take a couple days. The computers right now, we are trying to repurpose some of our current employees' desktops and move them out to the community centers. And then I'll let Kent answer if we order new computers July 1, how long that takes to get them in and operating.
So really quick, Kent, before you address that, Commissioner, do you have any follow-ups on that?
No, I just, like I said, I think we're, while we're looking at just the volunteer piece, I think, like I said, all the other stuff, it'd be nice to be able to understand and see what tasks are needed to get there.
And there are library services already happening. We did the open house about a month ago, and from that point through the summer, we have literacy activities like toddler reading groups and things like that that are already happening or planned and will continue each month.
So, and with that being said too, and this is going to be a sticking point for this whole conversation is that, and I am a little frustrated right now because I got your email on Friday. Sorry, we didn't respond about the shelves. I think that's great. We're not addressing the donation part right now. So there was a group of residents in La Mesa that wanted to donate a flagpole, have it installed. They had a contractor, everything like that. We were putting barriers where barriers do not need to be. As far as it goes with libraries, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, where the municipality of St. Louis Metro ran libraries. This isn't like a crazy thing. Like, this is normal. Government provides these services, or a nonprofit. We're reinventing a wheel that doesn't need to be reinvented. There's already policies. A copy machine and people paying money to use a copy machine at a library, there shouldn't need to be a policy for that. It's already done. Like, I'm sorry. This is just, every single time, we are the biggest hindrance to our constituents accessing resources by the county. We continually put up barriers where barriers do not need to be. And then we put years in between those conversations to where now we have a library that has been sitting there for 13 years with state funding. Whether it's state funding or county funding or municipality funding or nonprofit funding, it's money sitting there and it's resources not being used. And it breaks my heart because we see this every single place, whether it's Mesquite, Vado, or La Mesa, or San Miguel, or Chamberino, or any of these places. We give them facilities, we give them resources, they go out and they advocate their legislators, which is hard to do. We had 2 individuals up here that addressed us at the podium, which is huge. I am so awesome, and we're gonna get your name and number, and we're gonna get them involved with our youth commission because those are the individuals that we want to speak on these things and get active with their community, and they're doing that. But yet we're gonna keep putting barriers up, and we're gonna keep putting barriers up, and we're gonna keep doing it, not let people into facilities, not let people access resources, come up with crazy ideas that we need policies and policies and policies, and I get it. I'm all about policies. How hard is it? We are at the budget. We're literally about to do the pre-budget. Put money in the budget. Like, let's do this. We're a county that want to put our money where our mouth is, and we're talking about this, and we're talking about quality of life, but we're not doing it. Like, I'm frustrated. I really am frustrated right now. And it's crazy. There's 20 people out here. And they advocate day in, day in, day. No, I don't need that, please, no. They advocate. We send them to their legislators. They get the money, and then we put up a wall. A giant wall. And we say, thank you for the money. Sit down, we'll get it in 5 years. That is not fair to our legislators. That's not fair to our communities. So can we get this done? We need to get this done. Giving them an old computer, come on. And guess what? When we put in the computers, are they going to be able to access them? We have computers in Mesquite. Can they access them?
So Commissioner, I can't answer those questions. I can address 2 things. The shelves, the way the library is designed and arranged, there is space for ADA accessibility around the shelves. There's also space for the other.
We got this, thank you.
There's also space for the other activities that the community asked for, like reading groups, like homework clubs, like book clubs. So we were trying to create some open space within that for those other types of activities. And I didn't say, no, we can't accept the donation. I said, not at this time. Let's see what the utilization is. Once we have Library World up and running, which is the cataloging system, we'll be able to track how many people are checking out books, what type of books, so we know where to invest, what type of book. If the utilization is more and people are checking out all of the books and we need to have more in the room, then I think we can consider accepting the donation of more bookshelves. So we have to see what the public is going to utilize before we bring more things into the facility. And that was just my recommendation to county manager and assistant county manager. Let's see what happens once Library World is up and running. And secondly, this would move a lot faster if you want to allocate a couple FTEs. We've been relying on folks from the city library to be our library experts. We've been relying on Mrs. Garcia and other volunteers, but I always hesitate because in the past, when we create a program that is completely reliant on volunteers, and if something happens to that volunteer, then all of that investment is gone. So I do think if this is a priority, we need to actually have at least one person dedicated to library services, because right now, I'm just able to pull from other people in the department that already have full plates to add additional work to their scope.
So in your pre-preliminary budget, is there a full-time employee request?
There is not.
Has there been, and has it been denied?
There has not. No one has given direction that they would like the county to begin library services as a scope of our work.
And it doesn't have to be a scope, but you have tons of volunteers that are willing to do the work. So that's like, if you want to allocate a full-time employee to doing things like this, that's fine. But you also have at least 4, if not 5 volunteers that are ready to go. We should be holding their hands and getting them through the process.
I absolutely agree, yes.
So let's go ahead and grab them before the meeting's over. We can take them upstairs and start the paperwork. I mean, that's good government. So let's get that done. This is
Absolutely.
Hi, Kent English, IT Director, Commissioner, Chair, Commissioners. Just to address the technology questions that came up, I think it would be great if people could donate computer equipment. The only concerns there is anything that touches our network really has to meet our security standards. And so most donated equipment is not new equipment. It may not even be still covered under manufacturer warranty, which would be an issue for my staff trying to support multiple types of computers. So we generally, the staff is certified to support certain types of computers, and so we just can't support every kind of model, especially if maybe it's not even still under warranty and we're having to get those repaired. Same thing with printers, anything that touches the network or is a security concern. If it doesn't touch network, like say maybe an inkjet printer, there's multiple brands of inkjet printers out there. And again, if it's not still under manufacturer warranty and they're looking to us when it breaks down to fix it, then that would be a concern. As far as ordering the new computers, they're going to be coming out of the FY26 budget. That we'll get those ordered right in July. We order standard configurations typically from Dell, and they usually come in, I would say, within 2 weeks. So we expect that we'd get those in 2 weeks and then be able to set them up, configure them another week. We put software on the devices so the configuration resets. So that way, if anybody installs any other software or puts any files on there, we reset those so it's a fresh environment for every constituent that comes up to use those.
Mr. Chair. Thank you. Mr. Kent, I always think of Clark Kent for some reason.
Just do the glasses.
But anyway, so there you go. You need a Superman t-shirt now. Is there any way that you can get with the people representing Chaparral and give them a list of acceptable new printers? Because the person that's willing to donate them is willing, or at least willing to donate one new printer.
Okay.
And that way they can communicate to me, to communicate to this anonymous donor. They don't want to be known who it is. And that way the software is appropriate for the use at the Chaparral Library. Is that okay with you all back there? And so hopefully we can get it to you in a week based off of Superman's list here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Glad to do that.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner.
I want to make sure, I completely agree with the comments that are made by you, Mr. Chairman, wanting to get this moved forward. I do want us to take a step back in that I think there are certain pieces of infrastructure, and I think IT, this is one of them, where let me just explain what goes down the road. And I think like you're saying, Mr. Kent, that, or Mr. English, sorry. You know, I think I want to make, I think one is I appreciate that people want to donate to the facility because they want to make this a success. Right. I just don't, I think we should understand what ways and how, if there's other things that we can perhaps utilize and find for them to donate that will help us, I think that might be a better use of the public to be able to do that. And the reason I say that is because when we look at IT equipment, things like that will have to be refreshed, it breaks, it's under warranty, like I think like you just mentioned, if it's something that's not within the county, we're probably not gonna service it. We're not gonna warranty it, we're not gonna do anything. So once it breaks, it's just gonna sit there. And I just wanna make sure, and I think, I want the library to have the equipment it should have so that it's operational. If something breaks, we bring something in and it's not down for months, it's maybe a couple of days. And so, like I said, I think if there's a way we can work with the community, and absolutely, I think we've seen other instances in the county where we have accepted donations and other things. And it comes to usually if it's like a resolution and we approve it. I just want to make sure we can find the best ways that we're putting in our money and the community can put in how they feel, you know, if we can work to find the best way that we can work together to fund this or build this the right way, that's where I want to be. And I don't want to discourage at all anything. I just want to see if there's an opportunity that if they're willing to donate a printer, is there a chance they may want to donate, you know, a shelf or maybe benches or bean bags or things like that to help within the inside of the community of the library. So that way we have these awesome spaces that want to bring in the community members and the youth. So that way they come in and into our public spaces. I think that's one of the things that we need to do a better job of is finding how we make our public spaces more welcoming to the members of our community so that they come in, they know they have a place, and so on. So I understand what you're saying, Kent, and I just want to, but I am completely on board with myself and my other commissioners that we need to figure out a way to get this over the finish line, so that way we have a place that a library in Chaparral. I know we have been made a conscientious effort to fund more infrastructure in the community, but you know, I also know when our community members in Chaparral, when they show up here, we need to figure out how we can work with them to make what they're asking for a reality. So thank you.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Sanchez, the ideal situation, like you said, I mean, once something's donated, you know, when it's no longer functional, then, you know, in that kind of situation, something else would have to be donated. The ideal situation, I guess, for my department is that, you know, we fund it, we put it on a refresh schedule, so that way it's perpetually updated. You know, as things wear out, we replace them, and we put that in our budget to keep the technology current. And so that's ideal situation for me.
Yeah. And I think I was you know, looking at Lucio's already probably taking notes here from, you know, if we need another FTE, if we need some of these things, I think this is, and probably shouldn't be saying this like this, but it's some of this is incremental cost that's just probably, it's just worth it in my opinion, but we'll get to that discussion. But I think if we know what we need, then we can either add it later today when we have a discussion, or come July when we approve our final budget, then we can make all those additions or amendments or take those into account when we do that approval. So.
And just to kind of round out the conversation, this is not just about the Chaparral Library, although it is very important. This is about every single community outward-facing facility that this county owns and operates. Like, this is not just a one-off. This is everything. So just pointing that out. But thank you, Ken.
Mr. Chair, we do have a plan to put computers in all the community centers. The first hurdle that we're trying to get over is high-speed internet, because some of them only have DSL. And so it's very, very slow. But we're working on a plan to get high speed in all of those, and along with putting computers in all those facilities.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
have another staff input that's unrelated to the library. So if you could pull up the flyer for the summer lunches. And Commissioner Sanchez, you're right. What young people have asked for is bean bags. They want a nice, comfortable place to sit and read there. So that's right on. Again, Jamie Michael, County's Health and Human Services Department. Our employees are working at the resource centers throughout the county to host the summer meal program for young people. 6 community centers beginning July 2nd through June 2nd through July 23rd, Monday through Friday from 11:30 to 12:30. We will be distributing the meals. Some of them will be grab and go, some of them will be eat there. And in addition, the staff and our contractors will be doing youth activities. So we know that the young people are going to be there for more than just that hour. And I can send this to you so you all can share it via social media so you can help us get the word out. Thank you all.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Commission, County Management. Justin Weaver with Facilities and Services. I have a presentation which I think the gentlemen are going to be bringing up for me here shortly. Before that gets brought up, Chair, I just wanted to echo your thoughts and opinions. I've been with the county for approximately 15 months now, and that's something that I've found extremely frustrating is the disconnect between some of the departments that we have, the disconnect between some of our departments and the community. And that's just something that I ask the commission, county management, is if we can, move forward in a more streamlined process in order to get that kind of moving along. Secondly, Amanda, thank you very much for your kind words. Facilities and Services has had a wonderful time working on your project there. It's probably been, actually it is my first ground up facility that we have here. It's my first multi-million-dollar facility that we have here. So Amanda, thank you for that because it's been a relatively streamlined construction process and we are, pulling into the finish line right now and I'm very excited. So Amanda, thank you for that. So now that it's up, pretty much we have a lot of projects that are up underway right now, a lot of them being the parks projects. So I just wanted to give a brief presentation to update you guys because a lot of these are happening within your districts. So next slide, please. So the first one that we have on the list is the Rincon Park. The scope of services include a new playground with fall protection, bollards, ADA parking, striping, and basketball courts. Secondly, we have the Butterfield Baseball Park, which is actually going into construction this week. This is going to be converted into a youth softball field. We have installation of an outfield fence and new red dirt to come in. Mesquite Community Skate Park, we have outdoor restrooms ordered. We are pending a PO to get the concrete pad, plumbing infrastructure in place for that one. Currently, we also have the full facility to be under construction here within the next couple months, but we are going through a value engineering phase to bring it within budget. Colquitt Baseball Park, we're going to be including the installation of a new T-ball field, installation of irrigation and seeding bollards and site grading. This one actually just got approved on the consent agenda this morning, so we'll be proceeding with construction over the next coming weeks. Dolores Wright Soccer Field, we have engaged with a designer to convert the existing baseball fields into new soccer fields. La Mesa Park, we're currently working on getting a fitness court installed over there. We've been working with the commission and constituents to look at playground equipment, which as soon as we get the new funding allocation, we'll be moving forward with that. The Guadalupe Park, we have a pre-construction meeting scheduled for June 9th. The scope includes new ADA parking, fencing, new park amenities, erosion control. The East Mesa Baseball Park and Field construction is to begin June 1. Scope includes installation of new irrigation and seeding, striping of the basketball courts, new sidewalks, water utility infrastructure, and park amenities. Lastly, at Vado del Cerro, we have some outdoor restrooms which have been ordered. We are pending the PO for the concrete pad and plumbing infrastructure to go in there. The outdoor restrooms have a lead time of approximately 96 days, which is about 3 to 3.5 months. And that is all I had. Are there any questions or comments?
Really quick, Justin, so the Mesquite, the outdoor bathroom that you all are pouring a slab for,
Yes.
is this the first outdoor bathroom we're doing, or have we done one before?
No, we're going to be doing Mesquite and Vado simultaneously. These are going to be our two satellite sites. So
Awesome. No, that's really great. And then how is that going to work with maintenance and upkeep on them?
So maintenance and upkeep on these are not going to be waterless restrooms. They are going to have water. So we're just going to be cycling it in as far as our janitorial maintenance goes. So we're just going to have it every time that the community centers is maintenance. We're going to also have the outdoor restrooms maintenance as well.
Awesome. And then what is the price for one of these after it's all done?
Right now, including infrastructure, everything that we're looking at, it's approximately $150,000 investment.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner.
I don't know if this was probably the appropriate place to do this, but I did want to say thank you, Justin, as well as to the Flood Commission, Michael Garza, for all the work that was done on the Abeta Pond, and as they're calling it down in Doña Parque Alegre, that we are going to be having a ribbon cutting, I believe, on June 5th. And so what it is, if you haven't seen it, it's the first time here at the county that we've done a dual purpose flood control with some outdoor recreation space. It's still very much trying to work with the community in developing the recreation space, but we do have already a path around the flood area, the ponding area, so that people can go out and actually walk around. There's bridges, and so I just want to say again, thank you, Justin, to you, all of your team for the support in that and the continued support as they're working through this. But again, if there are any of the commissioners or anybody in the public that wants to join us, July 5th, we'll be having that ribbon cutting out there in the morning of that Thursday morning. So, but thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Justin? Seeing none, thank you, Justin.
Okay, thank you.
I've got Denise coming up, and then Deb, and then I'll close this out, sir.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners, County Manager. I'm here to provide an update. I had an opportunity to travel to Las Vegas, Nevada a week ago to attend the ICSC 2025, the International Council of Shopping Centers. It's a huge event that takes place annually. For those of you that are not familiar, ICSC was founded in 1957. They represent developers, landlords, retailers, investors, and brokers. They're a member organization for industry advancement. They promote and elevate marketplaces, spaces where people shop, dine, work, play, and gather as a foundational and vital ingredient of communities and economies. Like I mentioned, this conference takes place annually, usually during the month of May. The one that I just attended had over 30,000 attendees. It was held in the Las Vegas Convention Center. And just to give you an idea, even though it's going through construction and renovation, they managed to set up all of the vendors in 2 different halls. I'm sorry if the image is a little blurry. I try to make it fit into the slide, just so that you get an idea. And I was able to meet up with a couple of them, especially after our retreat and when we were talking about quality of life and what we want to do. So here are some pictures. they had the layout almost as like a street. So in order to be able to find the vendors, as you can see in the picture on the top right corner, they had it labeled with ABCs and the name of the street and the 12th Avenue so that you can actually find the booths. The reason why I added the Selena Economic Development picture there, I thought it was such a cute way of showcasing economic development. It just gave me ideas in the future once we start attending trade shows on behalf of the county, how we should portray our county. Those were some of the retailers that I was able to meet with. They also had a couple of webinars where they had guest speakers. And the reason why I'm highlighting the next big retail category, they were mentioning, as a result of everything that is going on, the businesses that are currently thriving are anything related to wellness. Anything, meal prepping, spas, massages, anything that people are doing to make themselves feel better and be able to tolerate the levels of stress that people are experiencing with everything that's going on right now. And in about a month, I am going to be attending a rural economic development retreat hosted by the International Economic Development Council in Great Falls, Montana. I'm actually very excited about it. I've never been to one of these retreats. So I am really looking forward to learning and expanding my tool set and see what ideas I can bring back. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Denise. Any questions, commissioners?
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Deb Weir from the County Manager's Office. Just wanted to give you a brief update. As you know, the HR policies and procedures are currently being revised in coordination with the outside consultants. In the interim, we wanted to bring a particular policy to your attention. Our current policy does allow the substitution of education, experience for education. As the current policy is written, it's 2 years of experience for every 1 year of education. And what we're finding is that it's putting us at a competitive disadvantage. In the new policy revisions, it will be a 1-to-1. But we wanted to bring it to the board's attention that we would like to make that adjustment via directive at this time if the board does not have any objection, as we are seeing the impacts on our current recruitment. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention and see if you had any initial feedback or objections.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Sanchez.
I think just the only comment I had was I completely agree with this. I don't. I think generally what I've seen it seems like in job postings, I think I've seen like a more like a standard like 5-year in lieu of a bachelor's and then like 8 or 10 for a master's or something of that nature. But I agree. I could see how 8 years for a bachelor's or some sort of position in that nature would put us at that disadvantage. So I agree with the direction you're going.
Thank you.
Any other questions, thoughts, comments?
I agree as well.
Sounds good.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thanks. As Deb mentioned, that's something that we can handle internally, but we did want to make sure the board was aware to be transparent. Going back to the library, Ms. Garcia, you have my cell phone number, and to the board and to the staff. Dr. Garcia, that visit will be coming sooner than you expected, so I do want to come out on site. I'll bring some of the team members so we can lay eyes on everything. I'd like to personally go. I know the great pride that you have in it, and thank you for all of you for being here today. So I'll arrange a time, and I'll have Amanda Gomez reach out, and we'll look at either later this week or early next week at your convenience. But I do want to come out on site and bring some of the team and see if we can work through all this. And really, as the board said, really happy you're here and not getting into blame or anything like that, but I'm sorry for the experience you've had, and we want to rectify that as quickly as possible. I'm going to take a pause there and move on as we look ahead a little bit. And the Vice Chair mentioned earlier the Metro Narcotics and the role that we all play there. There was an exchange of emails recently, and wanted to kind of pull back the curtain on that a little bit. It is a board decision whether or not we participate with Metro Narcotics. With all due respect to the sheriff, that is not their call. So on the 17th, we have invited the sheriff and the public or whoever would like to participate. We'll have a work session to discuss this very important topic. Public safety is topic number one. So we will have that on the work session agenda for the 17th for all those interested. And again, no vote will take place that day. It's just to discuss and to talk about it openly. And again, nothing changes until this board votes differently. So we will continue to be involved in that until this vote changes direction. As we look ahead to June 10th, we have a big item on the agenda. In the name of transparency, I just want to re-echo what we've said previously. We'll have a bond resolution agenda on June 10th to discuss moving forward. As we talked about in previous weeks, economic development, quality of life are the priorities we discussed at the board retreat and at the state of the county. So we're going to follow up that on June 10th, so the board will hear out and decide whether or not we're going to move forward with an investment, a strategic investment in our community, which will go to the voters then later this year in the fall. And Chair, I think that is the longest staff input we had, and we are all done, sir.
Awesome, thank you. Moving on, we do have commission-appointed board report backs. I will go ahead and go first. So I sit on the South Central Solid Waste Authority board with Commissioner Sanchez. We did move to contract negotiations with a candidate for the executive director of South Central Solid Waste Authority. It was a really great process. We had some great people come into the community and interview, people from outside the community, inside the community. So we will be working on that. We'll be having a special meeting next Tuesday to finalize that contract. So we will be able to move in that general direction come Tuesday of next week, or Wednesday of next week at 9 a.m. And that is my report backs. Commissioners, anyone else? No worries. Anyone else?
I don't have any feedback. I just want to let you know that we had the El Paso MPO this past Friday, but due to lack of a quorum, there's nothing to report.
Awesome, thank you. Any other report backs from staff? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to minutes where we will be asked to approve the regular meeting minutes from May 13th. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and second. So we have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, Brandy, go ahead.
Commissioner Gameros?
Yes.
Excuse me. Commissioner Sanchez? Vice Chair Chaparro?
Yes.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez?
Yes. Minutes are approved. Moving on, we have the approvals portion. We have 3 items on this today. Our first one is resolution approving the fiscal year 2026 preliminary budget. I will go ahead and move approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
Oh. Rock, paper, scissors. No, I made the motion. We'll do vice chair as the second. And we have Lucio, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Lucio Luttrell, Budget and Research Officer. Today we come before you to approve the FY26 preliminary budget. I want to apologize. We had this on the last board meeting, but we had some last-minute adjustments to make, so we pushed it to this meeting. I'll get started going through the agenda. So the bulk of this presentation is changes from the April 15th work session. We didn't want to be repetitive and dive into the same detail, so we're really going to highlight the changes and how that impacted the overall budget. We'll look at the revenue overview, expenditures overview, the budget recap, and our revenue and expenditure balance. This first slide, there's a lot of information here, but it does highlight the changes from our budget work session, and the bulk of the changes sits with department grant budgets. As you know, in the last work session, we did not have our grant budgets in there yet. We're working on it with departments, and so now we have that in there. I'll start at the top with increase of $98 million in revenue from $213.8 million to $312 million. All of the adjustments are related to grant budgets. Moving on to expenditures, we have an increase of around 120.7 million in expenditures from 266.6 million to 387.38 million. So I'm gonna just go through the bullet points as far as what those adjustments are. We did have some adjustments to salary and benefit calculations. So we had an overall reduction of around 131,000, and this had to do with corrections to how a few of the positions were calculating their salary and benefits. So there were 2 captain positions in DASO, which were calculating higher pay than it should have been. So I appreciate DASO for catching those errors. We also had 3 positions in HHS who needed costing allocation updates, and so it affected department budgets as well as some grant budgets. We also added an inspector position for community development, a legal assistant position, Jetport master plans, which included master drainage and utilities master plan, community development, one-time cost for a comprehensive plan review, and special study area plan for Santa Teresa area. We also included the opioid fund budget. Within healthcare assistance fund, we added 75,000 for incentives to implement the Find Help software support for Connect Doña County. We also had an increase of around 10,800 for film loss cruises. So we had worked in 95,000 into the budget, but their request came in the prior few weeks at 105,000. The Law Enforcement Protection Fund, we added the budget as submitted by DASO, the same with the misdemeanor compliance budget, which was provided by HHS. And we also had some adjustments to fire positions that we'll cover on the next slide. And then we included department grant budgets for the expenditure side of 118.9 million. So these are the fire position request adjustments. Within the work session, we had an original request of around 44 positions. So the updated request is at 41 positions. From my understanding, Fire Rescue had their own internal retreat, and they discussed the needs of the department as we look to expand and take on or prepare for EMS services. So we removed 6 paramedic floating responders, a billing specialist, and 3 lieutenant firefighters. And the updated request of 41 positions includes 3 battalion chiefs, 3 EMS quality assurance lieutenants, firefighter EMT of 16, fire logistics tech, and the firefighter academy class of 18 positions, which looks to be taking effect in January. So we budget about 50% of the year. These proposed changes would lead to a decreased span and area of control for fire response units, as well as increased quality assurance, and to meet the increasing logistics needs of the department. I do want to highlight that our fire rescue department has applied for funding from the state's FY26 firefighter and EMT recruitment fund. So if we are awarded this, it would alleviate the county general fund use in the first 3 years. The first year it would alleviate for 15 positions at around 1.3 million. The following year, 50% of that the county would have to pick up, and then the following year after that, we would cover 25% until it falls off in year 4. As we dive into countywide sources of revenue, I do want to highlight that we're showing the FY25 adopted versus the FY26 preliminary draft to give a better comparison of what you approved last year versus what we're bringing to you this year. I'll start with tax revenues, which we are budgeting around 165.3 million, which is a $9 million increase or 6%. Tax revenues are made up of GRT, property tax, and some other taxes such as flood tax, compensating tax, gas tax, cannabis excise tax, and payment in lieu of taxes. The largest portion of this is our GRT at about 95.4 million. We also are budgeting service revenues of 33 million, which is around 4.7 million or 17% increase. Our service revenues are made up of care prisoner revenues, wastewater fees, franchise fees, fleet service fees, and some other service revenues. A majority of that $4.7 million increase is due to our federal care prisoner revenue. So we're budgeting around $4.5 million increase, and that amount went from 14 million to around 18.5 million. Our other revenues, we're budgeting 9.9 million or a $2.7 million increase, which amounts to 38%. This is made up of fire and EMS distributions, fire chargeback revenue, Secretary of State funding, penalties and interest, late charges, and some other miscellaneous items. The majority of this increase has to do with new chargeback revenue that we're incorporating of 2 million for EMS services that we will be able to bill insurance companies. Investment income, we're budgeting 5 million or a $2 million increase. We worked with the treasurer's office to come up with a conservative figure of 5 million. So for FY '26, we're expecting to come in over this amount, but we're also expecting use of cash reserves and rate adjustments that could affect return. So the original estimate calculated by the office was 5.9 million, but we wanted to be conservative just in case we start spending cash faster than expected. And lastly, we're budgeting grant revenue of around 98.7 million. This is a $3.5 million increase or 4% from last year. When we get into the final budget, we will update the grant revenue budgets based on grant balances that are available. So we do have a push towards the end of the year to try and draw down on grants and receive reimbursements from grantors. And so this amount will change. But our overall revenues, we're budgeting 312 million, which amounts to 22 million or 8% increase. As you can see, the chart on the right breaks down the weighted average of each revenue type. So our biggest revenue is tax revenues at 53%, grants at 32%, service revenues 11%, other investment revenues make up 3% and 1%. Moving on to our expenditure highlights. You saw this at the work session, but I'll reiterate this. We are including a 3% unrepresented positions COLA. So this does not include employees on a step plan. This is around an $870,000 impact. We're working this into the budget right now, but we're waiting for the completion of the comp and class study to see what further adjustments are needed. So we'll work with management to implement a plan based on the findings of that study. We also incorporated 8.7% estimated health insurance increase as approved by the board. We do include union step increases as contractually obligated. So this does not include anything related to current negotiations, but any contract that is currently in place. We have new positions, which are 57 of them, and the capital outlay has not changed at all from the work session. So this includes unrestricted capital in process of 23.6 million, new unrestricted capital requests of 16.4 million, and restricted capital of 5 million. So this is our new positions recap. I'm not going to go through every single line. I'll just highlight by department and if there were any changes from the work session, as I previously mentioned on a prior slide. Community development has 7 position requests. We originally had 1 inspector, but there's another inspector added. So it's an electrical and then a plumbing and mechanical inspector. Flood department has 2 positions. Fleet services 3, information technology 2. Fire rescue, as mentioned on the prior slide, we have 41 positions. Economic development has 1. And legal department, well, this is a new one added, legal assistance. There also was a request for an associate attorney that we're kind of put on hold until we get up to speed on our current staffing. And so we'll revisit that during this year as legal department moves to take on more work in-house versus contracting out. Moving on to countywide expenditures. We'll start with personnel costs. We're budgeting around 104 million, which is an $11.8 million increase or 13%. So this includes the increases mentioned on previous slides, such as new positions. It also includes overtime, callback, incentive pay, on-call pay, shift differential pay, and anything else personnel related. We also have operating cost increase of 6 million, which is a total budget request of 111 million. That's 6%. Debt service of 2.5 million or $130,000 increase. We will be working with our accounting section over the next month to make sure that we have our debt service schedule up to date as we have new debt during the year that comes on board, mostly with our Colonias grants. So that brings total operations of 218 million or an $18 million 9% increase. We also have capital outlay of 45.2 million budgeted, which is a decrease from prior year of 6.8 million. And then also grant budget expenditure totals of 124 million or $11.6 million increase. So overall, we are budgeting expenditures of 387 million, which amounts to 22.9 million or 6% increase. The chart on the right will show that we do have the largest expenditures within our grant section at 32%. Then we have operating costs of 29%, personnel of 27%, and then capital of 12%. This slide shows the high-level summary, which is our FY26 preliminary budget recap. It's broken down by DFA fund type. So the first column shows our DFA fund type. General fund, so I like to say this is the health of the county. It could be used for any general purpose. We have our special revenue funds that are typically restricted by legislation, contract, or grant. capital project funds, debt service funds, our enterprise funds, which is made up of our utilities section, internal service, which is our fleet department, and then our trust and agency, which pretty much funds for resources held for others. For example, our property tax fund, where we collect for other entities and distribute it. That's how we account, or where we account for all those transactions. If you look at the bottom line, we're estimating beginning cash of $205 million, with revenues of $312 and expenditures of $387 budgeted. We're anticipating to have budgeted end cash of $129.9 million. So that's if revenues coming in at 100%, expenditures are spent at 100%, that's what our cash would be at the end of next year. We do have required reserves within our general fund and road fund. That amounts to $30.5 million. So after we take into account that required reserve, we truly have budgeted ending cash of $99.3 million. So this does reflect a use of reserves of around $75 million, which is typical for the county's budget. Last year, we adopted a budget with the drawn reserves around $74 million, which we fortunately have seen revenue come in over budget and we spend less than budget. So we really don't draw on our reserves as we budget, and it's good for us, and it does leave some reserves to be able to allocate it to one-time costs. The bottom section of this pretty much breaks down the top into cash restriction type by fund type. I know within the packet, there's a more detailed document for you to look at if you wanted to look at each of the funds the county has. We work with about 100 funds, and so this really consolidates it. I will highlight the unrestricted cash. As you can see, we have around 76.3 that we're estimating to start with revenue 168 million, transfers out of 550,000, budgeted expenditures of 186 million. That really leaves budgeted end cash of 57.7 million. Once we take into account our required reserve, we have budgeted adjusted ending cash and unrestricted funds at 27 million. So that number is important because I know a lot of people like to look up here and pick the highest number for cash, which is 205 million, and think, the county has an abundance of cash. But when you look at it at the budget perspective, we really have 27 million to work with. And if you want to look at it on a monthly basis, that's less than 6 months worth of unrestricted operating costs. This slide will show our revenue and expenditure balance. So as we are working through the budget process, our goal will always be to at least have a balanced budget or a revenue surplus, because we want to make sure that we maintain the financial health of the county. We don't over-obligate or overextend ourselves for future years. The top side of this will show our total revenues of 312 million, total expenditures of 387, which comes out to a drawn reserves of 75.2 million. But if we look at our use of reserves within our restricted funds, of 34.4 million, capital in process, new capital, some potential retiree payout, one-time costs, and some recovery funds we're anticipating. We actually have a recurring surplus of 2.6 million. The right image will show, the true recurring revenues of 179.7 million with our recurring expenditures of 177.2 million. But I don't want us to look at this and think, wow, we could increase operations right now, boy, $2 million, because we do have $2 million that we're gonna have to pick up in FY27 related to some of the SAFER grant employees. So we have 24 firefighters that are being funded by that, and that's $2 million. So we are anticipating that in the next year. So if we take out that $2 million, we really have close to $600,000 to work with. Our next steps. So we have to submit this preliminary budget to DFA by June 1st. So our target will be this Friday. From July 1st to the 10th, we will be reaching out to departments and asking them to update their grant budgets as well as capital in process so we could budget for that accurately. July 8th, we plan on coming to the BOCC with year-end budget adjustments. And then we do have a special meeting scheduled for July 29th where you'll approve the FY25 fourth quarter report and our FY26 final budget. And with that, I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Lucio, on this, as well as thank you to your team for working on this since, November? I know it's always a heavy lift year after year. Commissioners, any comments, questions, concerns?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Vice Chair.
just a great job, Lucio. You just make it so easy to understand, so I really appreciate it. But I might need a little help on a couple of things, so I'll be calling. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Sanchez.
I think given the previous conversation we had about the library and such, I guess, probably right now, I think given the timeline, it would just from looking at consensus, would it make sense for us to just go ahead and move for approval of the preliminary and then allow time to revisit for maybe the final and make any changes during the final budget that was listed on the previous slide in July? For us to maybe, if there is a need or for some of the resources needed to staff community centers, maybe that might be the time to do it, I think is.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Sanchez, I agree. I think it would be good for us to meet with the department and get a plan in place to really identify the needs of the library versus just throwing a budget at, say, use this amount. We could get with the department, what are the needs, how does it align with the strategic plan, and how do we move going forward?
Okay. As we move forward and we're looking at, I know when we had the work session, you had talked about tying the budget to the vital conditions. Just curious, when, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but just wondering, while we were looking with the economist and all of that, trying to project our revenues for the next few years, have we taken any discussion or look within the departments of what next year's fiscal year budget may look like? I know you were talking specifically on fire and emergency services and understanding that piece of it because of the costs that are coming, but didn't know as a whole if we've started even looking out at fiscal year 27 or 28, and just didn't know where we stand on that, or if that's even had discussions on that.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Sanchez. So now that we should have some breathing room, we plan to jump on that right away because I know how critical it is to begin long-range planning. And I know I've worked with management. We've had discussions on long-range planning, not just on the revenue side, but looking at, maintenance plans. I know several departments have master plans in place and we want to incorporate it all. But we're going to jump on the revenue side of the forecasting to see what our resources will be in 3, 5, 7 years, and so we can start planning long-term versus just the fiscal year basis.
Absolutely, and I think that's why I'm asking, because I think as you highlighted with, if you bring in that additional for the costs and for the 24 fire and emergency services staff, that leaves about $600,000. And so, even though we're projecting an increase in revenues, where does that put us for, some of the key projects that each of our departments are wanting to work on? What may we want to target next year, the following fiscal year versus the following fiscal year, or can we start looking at grants, capital outlay? And I think going back to having our lobbyist here during the last meeting, is that something we can start working now with them to start hitting up our legislators and or state departments to start really working on trying to get grant funding or some of those other things, so we can try to figure out how we can, either pull in or do, move all the moving pieces that are there, trying to figure out how we get everything to fit. So, but awesome. Like I said, I'm appreciate all the work this year. I really, really appreciate all of the presentations, the details in preparation for the meetings and the discussions you've had with the departments. I really appreciate all the work that you and your team have put in on this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? One thing that I would ask, Lucio, and you kind of touched on a little bit in the presentation with your notes, but a better understanding if the commission can get kind of the grants, when the spend by date is, where we're at on those spendings, just so that we know if we're at risk of any funding expiring or anything like that. I'm not sure if that's something that finance has been looking at or budget's been looking at, but just so that we understand exactly, like, you're very, very clear and concise on Safer's grant and all that kind of stuff, but just any other outstanding grants, whether it's capital or anything like that, if we can kind of get an update maybe in the next few months, that would be really helpful. Besides that, I really do enjoy the budget. I like how you have it put in there. I know that we were supposed to have a final resolution for the 1% fund from the assessor's office, but I believe that's coming before the July meeting?
That's the plan, is we'll work with the assessor's office, try and get something in place prior to final budget approval.
Okay. Awesome. Anything else? Okay, thank you, Lucio.
Thank you.
Good job, Lucio.
Any public comment on this? Any staff comment? Mr. Andrews?
No,
No?
just for clarification, sir, were you thinking like a percentage year-to-date column? Is that what you had in mind?
Say that again?
You mentioned grants and updates, so were you thinking like a year-to-date percentage to spent?
Yeah, just so that we know exactly when things are going to expire, so we expend before the expire date.
You got
We
it?
probably want to look at that as well for any agencies that we're the fiscal agent on. So anything that we're the fiscal agent on, understanding, so that way we can help them move that needle on spending. Okay. Okay, no public comment. Anything else? Seeing none. Brandy, go ahead and roll call the commission.
Commissioner Gameros,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez.
Yes.
The resolution number for that is 2025-60.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandy. Next up is item number 16, which is a request to increase Security Transport Services Incorporated Contract 25-129 by $75,000 for a total of $150 for fiscal year 25. Commissioners, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Sanchez and a second by Commissioner Gameros. Do we have a, is anyone here from the sheriff's office? Okay, seeing none, commissioners' questions to the universe.
I don't know, it seems pretty straightforward, but unless we wanted to wait for someone from DASO to attend.
I just have a question on that contract, so I'm glad Budget and Finance are here, but for the contract 25-129, do we know how much has been expended year to date? Oh, welcome.
Morning, Chair. Good morning, Commission.
Good morning.
Michael Pettis with Purchasing. I will look into that information and if I can get back to you. But if the request has come in, Purchasing really has exceeded the $75,000 procurement or whatever that procurement threshold was. But if you could give me about 10 minutes, I could get that number down to you.
It's okay. Okay, I think we're good. Thank you, sir. Any other questions, comments, concerns? 75,000 for 1 month of the fiscal year left? Okay. Public comment? Brandy, take it away.
Commissioner Gameros,
Yes.
I apologize, what was that?
It was a yes.
Yes, okay. Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez.
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, next up is item number 17, award project contract to ESA Construction in the amount not to exceed $3,136,351.38 to perform renovations in additions to Fire Station number 12 in Fair Acres. I will so move.
Second.
We have a motion by myself and a second by Commissioner Sanchez. Do we have a presentation or is it just up for approval today? Good morning, Mr. Weaver.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Commission. I really don't have a presentation regarding any visuals. I just kind of wanted to give you a brief update on this project and how we got to here. I know that there was probably a little bit of contention because of this project. We were kind of going back and forth with the information that was presented on the agenda. Reason being is this project is about 6 weeks behind schedule as far as it actually being underway as far as construction goes. So I was trying to get it on the agenda for a quick approval. The reason why we ran into a couple delays on this project is we had a budget initially of $3.2 million in order to design and construct this project. When we went out to bid, bids came back at $3.45 million, in which we also had to take into consideration that we were going to have an additional expense from Doña Mutual of approximately $500,000. With that, we chose to value engineer the drawings, bring it back to within a budget in which we have worked with the lowest bidding contractor in order to get a bid to $3.136351 million, which is what we were asking for approval today.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Questions, commissioners? Pretty straightforward. So, one, I'm really excited about this project, of course, because it's Fair Acres and it's going to serve Fair Acres as well as Picacho Hills, as well as going out to the fairgrounds, which is really, really important to our residents. So I'm really excited to see this going. So that's great. $500,000 to Doña Mutual is a lot of money, but I get it. It has to happen.
That's where, luckily right now, I did find a loophole that we are actually going to be working with until hopefully Doña Mutual can provide the infrastructure that we need over to the facility. So
we love a good loophole.
Thank you, sir.
We really, really do. Okay, cool. Anything?
I did not expect that comment. I was thinking,
Loophole?
I thought there was going to be some comment about Doña Neutral Domestic and trying to get them to expand infrastructure.
They do want us to expand their infrastructure, but like I said, I did find a little bit of a loophole that we're going to take advantage of until we can come to a better agreement with that.
Very good.
Okay.
Awesome. Cool. No other comments? Any public comment? This is really exciting. Okay. No public comment. Cool. Thank you, Justin. Brandy, take it away.
Commissioner Gameros,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez.
Yes. Motion carries. Okay. Next up is our hearings and ordinance portion. We do have one under this, which is item number 18, which is preliminary plat approval for type 3 subdivision to be known as Navarre's Estates subdivision. And we have Ms. Amesworth here.
Thank you. I believe we have a presentation there. Okay, so this
Do I
should
have
be
to
a,
swear you in? Do I have to swear her in? Do I have to swear you in?
I guess to be on the safe side, well,
I'm just going to start swearing everyone in. Raise your right hand. Ms. Amesworth, do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth?
I do.
You do? Okay, it's a heavy burden. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This should be a quick item here. This is a request for a preliminary plat for a type 3 subdivision to be known as Nevada's Estates subdivision. It is located off of Del Rey and Webb Road. You can see this lot right here. It's actually 2 lots. The request is to subdivide for 10 residential lots. The property is a little bit under 10 acres. Each lot would be ranging between 0.79 and 0.9 acres. They would be serviced by Moongate Water and would provide septic tanks. Access would be off of Webb Road, and they are proposing an internal road here, which would be called Iguana Court, and it would be eventually dedicated to the county. We did send out public notices, did not receive any opposition. The P&Z did recommend approval on May 8th, and staff is also recommending approval. At this time, I can respond to any questions.
Okay, thank you. That was very clear and concise, and I appreciate it. Commissioners, any questions?
Mr. Chairman, just one, but not specifically with the actual application, but more of the location. Is the, when we're looking at the next slide down, the aerial, oh, did I miss the aerial photo? Yeah, that one. Is that lot to the north the one that we had previously to where they were trying to have a church?
Yes, that is the property.
I was like, as I was looking at it, I couldn't recall, but I thought that was there. So, okay, that was it. Thank you.
Good memory.
That is a good memory. Cool. No other questions? Does any member of the public have anything to say today? Awesome. Okay.
We need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to approve for the preliminary plat approval for a type 3 subdivision to be known as Nevada's Estate subdivision.
Second.
Awesome. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions, concerns, public comments, staff input? Smoke signals, anything? Brandy, go.
Commissioner Gameros?
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Yes.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez?
Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, we have commission input follow-up. Commissioners, anything?
None.
I apologize when I walked out earlier that I missed the follow-up for commission board.
I reported on South Central Solid Waste Authority.
Awesome. We did have our Mesilla Valley MPO meeting last week. A couple of items that was discussed was the updated long-term plan, the Mobility 2050. That's going to be up for approval here in June, but they did have some public input, and that we did review that. And then also, there was also the some funding for projects, but the only projects that were brought forward during that for this year's funding through NMDOT, and I apologize that I can't remember the specific funding that it was through for the grant funding or the grant applications, but the only projects were brought forward by the town of Mesilla, so we did not have anything on the county. Thursday on May 29th, we have, tomorrow, sorry, I'm getting my days mixed up. Tomorrow, May 28th, at 1:30, we do have our South Central Regional Transit District meeting here in Commission Chambers. So if anybody wants to join in, more than welcome, but that's all I have right now.
Awesome. Anything else? Seeing none, we will move on to correspondence.
I have one. Estate of Paul Barrera versus Doña County.
Thank you, Brandy.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we convene.
Oh, would you like it?
Oh, I'll do it, yeah.
Or I can test you. Go ahead.
Oh.
Let's see how you do.
All right, I make a motion that the board convene in closed session regarding the purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property and water rights as authorized by the Open Meetings Act, Section 10-15-1, H8 of NMSA 1978.
You pass. I second. Any comments? Brandy?
Commissioner Gameros?
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Yes.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez?
Yes. And we are in closed session. Okay, everyone, the time is currently 12:35, and let the record reflect that nothing was discussed in closed session other than the items identified in the motion to go into closed session. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting adjourned at 12:35. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, William.